Before I talk about the secret ancient civilization that no one dares mentions, that destroys the theory of evolution, we must first talk about Egypt. I mean, the existence of ancient Egypt alone should destroy the theory of evolution. Yes, my friends, the rabbit hole just got deeper. There is strong evidence that proves that ancient Egypt existed long before the pharaohs. Egypt was already home to advanced civilizations long before the traditional dynasties we associate with pharaohs. We're talking about a prehistoric Egypt, possibly going back tens of thousands of years, even linked to the descendants of Adam and Noah. The early Egyptians had massive cities, advanced sciences, powerful knowledge of astronomy, alchemy, and architecture, technology that's been lost to time. The pyramids were built to preserve knowledge. One of the wildest claims is that the Great Pyramids weren't tombs, but giant time capsules. There is a book written 1,000 years ago. The Arabs at that time spoke of it as a fairy tale. But here is what it said: that a king named Surid ibn Salhuk, who ruled Egypt before the flood, yes, we are talking about the Great Flood, built the pyramids after having an apocalyptic dream. In the dream, the stars fell, fire rained from the sky, and all civilization was wiped out. He consulted priests and astrologers who confirmed that a massive catastrophe was coming. He built the pyramids as a way to protect all human knowledge: mathematics, astronomy, medicine, history, and more. He had the knowledge carved into stone walls and sealed inside chambers. He even supposedly hid machines and tools inside, technologies far ahead of their time. Some even say he inscribed prophecies about future civilizations and celestial events. Of course, magic, the jinn, and ancient powers played an important role at that time. There are books that describe Egypt linked with powerful spiritual knowledge. The ancient Egyptians are said to have harnessed jinn demons to help build massive structures. I mean, the existence of jinn should destroy the theory of evolution. We know that the earth has demons, and if there are demons, then there must be angels. And if that's the case, then there must be the one who created them, including man, and that is God. Anyway, let's just continue with our chatty about Egypt. The Egyptians knew all about occult sciences, like the secrets of nature and energy. Yet according to the evolutionist at that time, a monkey brain was still in development, playing with fire. Yet the evidence states that man was able to accomplish much more 10,000 years ago than what our monkey brain can comprehend. I mean, they even had devices or energy sources that modern science hasn't rediscovered. These themes get picked up later in various Arabic texts, where Egypt is seen not just as a place of kings and monuments, but as a gateway to lost wisdom, something sacred and cosmic. However, ancient Egypt is not the civilization that slaps the evolutionist theory. That title belongs to a civilization that preceded not only ancient Egypt, but also the Babylons. I am, of course, talking about the people of Ad and Thamud. They are mentioned in the Holy Quran. Here is the quote, "Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with Ad, Iram of the pillars, the like of whom was never created in the land?" Iram is interpreted as either a city of Ad or their tribe. Some think it refers to the mythical city Iram of the pillars, thought to be fabulously rich and architecturally grand. However, they were destroyed by a mighty blast or earthquake, depending on the interpretation. But there is plenty of evidence that proves that this ancient civilization existed, and the Western world knows this. In fact, the West has known about this for almost 1,000 years, since the days of Crusade. The Assyrian inscriptions, 8th century BCE, and they mention a group called Thamudi, possibly referring to Thamud. These inscriptions describe Arabian tribes involved in trade and sometimes conflict with Assyria, and the Roman sources confirm this in the Pliny the Elder, 1st century CE, refers to a group called the Thamudi in his Natural History, placing them in the northwest of Arabia. This aligns with where Madain Salih, Al-Hijr is, where the Thamud carved rock structures. You can still find what looked like palaces carved in the rock mountains today. The Nabateans, who succeeded the Thamud in some areas, were well known to the Romans. Petra is a good example of this. But what no one will tell you is that those palaces that are carved in the mountains are just as impressive as what the ancient Egyptians built. Yet no one talks about that. Because by talking about the people of Ad and Thamud, it will become clear that those were not average-size mortals, but were giant in size, and that would be a fatality move on the theory of evolution. Situated in northwest Saudi Arabia, Al-Hijr is the most famous archaeological site linked to the Thamud. There are thousands of ancient inscriptions in a script called Thamudic that have been found across Arabia. These are graffiti-style carvings left by nomadic peoples, possibly descendants or contemporaries of Thamud. The script predates Classical Arabic and has been found all the way from southern Jordan to Yemen. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, featuring massive tombs carved into sandstone cliffs, very similar to Petra because both were influenced by the Nabatean civilization. While the rest of the world is blindfolded by what is being taught in school, that man originates from apes, monkey say and monkey do, Uncle Sam has been very busy poking around, looking for clues of Ad and Thamud. In the early 1990s, a team led by NASA scientists, archaeologists, and adventurers like Nicholas Clapp claimed to discover the lost city of Ubar in the Rub al-Khali, empty quarter desert. They used satellite imaging to track ancient caravan routes and found ruins at a site called Shisar in Oman. It featured a collapsed limestone cavern, possibly an old fortress or settlement. Some linked this to Ubar Iram, calling it the Atlantis of the Sands. Notice how that a civilization of giants that build more amazing structures than the ancient Egyptians is never mentioned. How do we know that they built more amazing and complicated structures than the ancient Egyptians, you ask? Firstly, we have biblical text in the Holy Quran that confirms this, and you carve out of the mountains homes with great skill. Basically, they used to carve palaces in the rock mountains for fun, and there is plenty of evidence in northern Arabia, often associated with the archaeological site of Madain Salih, also known as Al-Hijr, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in modern-day Saudi Arabia. Madain Salih still exists today with beautifully preserved rock-cut tombs, showcasing the skills of the people that came after Thamud. Keep in mind that those people that came after the people of Thamud were not as skillful as the people of Thamud. Yet they were still able to carve palaces in mountains that even with today's technology, no man can even try to accomplish such a challenge. Yet not one Western documentary from the mass media channels has ever mentioned such civilizations. They only go as far back as the ancient Egyptians, around 7,000 years. Why always the number 7? When I think of the number 7, I always think of Sesame Street because that was always the magic number. They won't talk about the civilization just before the ancient Egyptians, like the Babylon, for example, and they certainly won't talk about the civilization that was made up of giants and used to shape and sculpt palaces in rock mountains just for fun and play. The same way an artist uses a chisel to sculpt a statue. To have giants with such skills acknowledged, that would be a problem because it would violate Darwin's theory of evolution in every manner. We can't have one of the greatest minds of the free modern world violated. Therefore, we can't go back more than the 7,000 years period. Even Joe Rogan sticks with that agenda. He always talks about Egypt and nothing before Egypt. A perfect example of monkey say and monkey do. Anyway, if you think this video makes any sense, then please feel free to subscribe to my broke channel.